Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 22 through 23. A sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Giving all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High Power Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachah Kodash. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Rachah Kodash. Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachah Kodash. Shalom and double honors unto the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the Akim Wa Akwath. Shalom. I wanted to make a quick video. Came across an article on Yahoo about the Russians and their military moves over here in the Arctic Ocean. And as the title say here, Russian military moves in the Arctic. Russian military moves in the Arctic worry the U.S. and NATO. So the Great Whore, the U.S. of A, and NATO, its allies, they're getting worried about the military moves that Russia's been making over there in the Arctic Ocean. So if you don't know where that's at, if you look at the map, the Arctic Ocean is right there. It's north. It's when you look at the landmass of Russia, it's northwest. So the Arctic Ocean is kind of like encapsulated. It's kind of surrounded by the territories of Canada and Europe and Russia up in that. It's kind of like in that kind of the surrounding in the body of water over there. And so Russia's using that area right now for military drills and moves. And we know that's gearing up for what? The World War III. And it's intensifying. And the U.S. and NATO's getting pretty worried. So we'll go ahead and read some of this article. I'll leave the link in the description. Read this article and then get some precepts to filter through the Bible. So it says in late May, Russian ambassador at large Nikolai Korchunov informed state media, the Russian state, that the situation in the Arctic was becoming perilous. So in late May, that was a couple weeks ago. So the and perilous, when we get that perilous, it had brought to mind a precept in 2 Timothy. We'll get that real quick. He said that the times is getting perilous. So 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. This know also that in the last days, that's where we're at right now, perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. And we'll stop right there. So, and we know this right here, for men shall be lovers of their own selves. That goes into social media. They've popularized selfishness, calling it a selfie. Take a picture of yourself, and put it up on social media, bragging, being proud, taking pictures of your materialistic things. And the scriptures say, don't be envying, meaning don't do things that make people envy you, And part of that envying is putting up materialistic things and taking pictures of money and all of that. So these are the times that we're in. It nails it down to a T. And so in these times, in these last days, dangerous times is about to come. That's what perilous means, dangerous. So we'll go ahead and keep reading. State media that the situation in the Arctic Ocean over there was becoming perilous. He wasn't referring to melting polar ice due to climate change. Instead, he warned of a very disturbing trend that is turning the Arctic into an international arena of military operations, and blamed NATO for expanding its footprint in the region. So recently, a couple weeks ago, back in late May, the Russian ambassador told their media over there in Russia that the Arctic was getting dangerous because NATO is the United States and NATO are turning the Arctic into a international arena of military operations. So basically, it's becoming a training grounds. It's kind of like a sport of military training out there, pretty much, because they're ramping up. Because both sides know what's coming, the impending World War III. I guess that's a popular area. Not I guess, but that's a popular area for the countries to go practice, war, military, and oceanic drills out there. And then also, Russia, they blamed NATO for expanding its footprint in the region. So they're encroaching in, I guess, in certain territories. So by air, by land, and by water, all the countries have specific territories and regions. Like you have the airspace, they have land masses and land space and territories and boundaries, and then also in the water, they have boundaries in the waters. And so it looks like NATO was encroaching on different areas as well as, doing military operation and training. And so that upset the Russians. They were complaining about that, about the U.S. and NATO doing that. So right here, it says that's a typical Russian play. Retired Finnish Major General Pekka Tolberi told Yahoo News. So Finnish, that means Finland. So that was a retired Finland general, just denouncing what Russia claimed, and said that Russia was just lying. Basically saying Russia was lying, that they was doing military operations over there in the Arctic. Western activities in the Arctic have been very mild. So that Finland guy that's allies and cool with the U.S. saying that America have been very cool, they've been very chilled, and that they haven't been doing military operations. In March, however, NATO held exercise cold response in Norway. So, but that was a lie. They denied Russian claims, but actually the U.S. and NATO have been in the Arctic back in March, performing an exercise called Exercise Cold Response. And why would America and NATO be doing that? Because that's the fulfillment of the prophecy in Ezekiel 38. The Most High is stirring up the spirit of the Russians and turning them back to that old Soviet Union Cold War era of 30 years ago. So continuing, it says, in March, however, NATO held exercise cold response in Norway with 35,000 fighters from 28 countries. It was NATO's biggest Arctic exercise in 30 years. So why are they having the biggest exercise over there in 30 years since the Cold War? Because Gog and Magog, Russia, spirit, that old Soviet Union spirit, has been stirred back up, and they've returned back to that Soviet Union warlike spirit to take down America. Yet the alliance, unlike Russia, has no new plans for permanent forces or military bases in the region, Tolberi said, while acknowledging that more patrolling and more exercises have given Russia reason to point the finger and claim the West is the problem. So as you see, NATO, they were doing those exercises back in March, but they're doing it temporarily. It says that they don't have any plans for permanent forces over there in the Arctic, but was just using it for a little temporary little training exercise for that Cold War exercise. And then so they gave the Russians reason to point the finger and claim the West is the problem. So we get a precept for this. These are the days we in, as prophesied by the Messiah in Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And all that's going on right now too. And then the last thing to come into place is that chip. So there's been pestilences with COVID and earthquakes in random places never been. And then now the latest also coming down strong is the food. They call it quote unquote food insecurity, which is basically a famine. We're in the early stages of that famine. It's going to intensify as well. Here coming in verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So this is just the beginning. This is the beginning of the end. We're in the end days, but this is the official beginning of the very last of the end time before the Messiah return. So going back to right down here, it says Western experts say that Russia, the largest of the 8 countries surrounding the Arctic, because it's like I was saying earlier, it's a bunch of land masses of different countries and alliances that surrounds the Arctic Ocean. Western experts say that Russia, the largest of the 8 countries surrounding the Arctic, is behind the militarization in the mineral-rich region. So they just basically finger pointing, steady deflecting blame at each other. And so that area is a mineral-rich area. It says which supplies 20% of Russia's GDP, that's gross domestic product. So Russia gets a large chunk of its supplies from that area, for their money, for their income, for their country. For the past decade, the Kremlin has been revamping shuttered Soviet bases. So that's very interesting there. So that's Ezekiel 38 coming to pass. For the last 10 years, the Kremlin, that's Russians, area there, the Kremlin has been revamping shuttered Soviet bases. That's that hook in the jaws, revitalizing. The Lord Yahweh is revitalizing the spirit of the Soviet Union, bringing them back. So when you go into revamping, real quick, it says, give new and improved form, structure, or appearance. So right down here, the similar word says renovate, redecorate, refurbish. So the old military bases of that went out of commission, went out of business when America beat the Soviets, the Russians in the Cold War era. They just became abandoned buildings, old bases that they were defeated. So, but now the Russians' renewed Soviet Union spirit is alive and well again, and they are restocking everything. Is back open for business, and they refurbishing the whole old Soviet bases, getting ready for that World War III, forming a necklace of dozens of defensive outposts, by some counts upwards of 50, from the Barents Sea to territories near Alaska, and building new facilities like the ultra-modern Trefoil, its northernmost base that became fully operational last year. So they revitalized the old Soviet Union bases that were destroyed, that went out of commission, and restocking them and refurbishing them. And then they built new modern top of the line, state of the art military facilities as well. So they refurbishing the old and building and strengthening even more. So it is going to be the greatest war in the history of mankind. The U.S. and NATO have looked on in consternation as Russia has established a new Arctic command. So the U.S. and NATO, when you go into that word consternation, it says feelings of anxiety or dismay, typically at something unexpected. Well, maybe some are more surprised, but those of the highest ranks of the elites, wicked elites on the left-hand side, they understand that this is the prophecies coming to pass. But America, they still feeling anxiety from seeing Russia really, really hunkering down and reestablishing the old Soviet bases and building stronger ones, more modern ones for these thermonuclear missiles to shoot on America and burn it with fire. So it says what, where will we go? Yeah, the U.S. and NATO have looked on in consternation, looked on in anxiety, as Russia has established a new Arctic command and 4 new Arctic brigades. Brigades is just smaller soldier factions, like thousands, like 5 to 10,000, to man these different outposts. Refurbished airfields and deep water ports for submarines, because they have a thing. They have a thing called like sub nuclear missiles as well that go through the water, and keeps launching mock military attacks on Nordic countries in between, jamming GPS and radar during NATO exercises. So Russia have the ability also. They were jamming the GPS signals of the U.S. and NATO as well during their military drills out there. So Russia is highly advanced, and and this is in alignment with the biblical prophecies. The Most High is going, without a doubt, use Russia to take down this whore, America. And radar during NATO exercises, it has also, according to the U.S. State Department, been trying out novel weapon systems in the Arctic. So they got all kind of new modern technology to destroy America. So we'll go ahead and get this in Ezekiel chapter 38 in verse 3. And say, thus saith the Most High Power, Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. So Gog is Russia, the chief prince of Meshech, and Tubal, that's the president of Moscow, who is Vladimir Putin. You can do the research on Meshech. That word goes back to that's an ancient word. Modern word for Meshech is Moscow. Verse 4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks. Even see right here in verse 3, even though the Most High is going to use Gog to destroy America, he's letting them know from the jump, from the start, that he's against them. He's just a tool to use to destroy America, take down the great whore, Babylon the Great. Verse 4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. So turn them back to what? The old Soviet spirit. And that's why Russia is revamping the old Soviet Union bases that went out of operation. And put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth. So he's going to bring them back to the USSR spirit, Soviet Union spirit, Cold War era spirit, right? And then bring them forth to destroy America. And all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So it's going to be a incredibly large amount of countries and armies that's about to come up against America to take her down. So we'll go from there to Jeremiah 50 and 25. The Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai hath opened his armory, and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Most High Power Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. So the modern day Chaldeans goes into Esau Edom. And that's in particular the Jewish with their witchcraft, because the Chaldeans were the sorcerers that was allied with Babylon, ancient Babylon. So the Most High opened his armory, and he's using that. His armory is right now. He's using the Russians to open up the armory, refurbish the armory of the old Soviet bases and new bases, modern technology, technologically advanced bases with the thermonuclear missiles and everything. And as you see, when you filter all of the current events and news, it all matches up perfectly, infinitely perfectly with the Holy Scriptures. So none of these prophecies going to fail. We're very close to the end, and it's just speeding up more and more every day. So hope this video, hope it was edifying. The water to the Rachak Wadash, Bahashem Yahushai. To the next video, I say, Shalom.